Councillor Brian Salinger. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John Marshall said that he met Margaret first, I think, in 1979. I met her long before that, when I was active in Hornsey, and she had become Member of Parliament from the neighbouring constituency of Finchley and Barnet. In fact, my father had known Dennis back to their school days, where they were both at school at Mill Hill, along with Richard Bugle. Councillor Cook says that it was all about luck. One needs luck in politics, and I think we're extremely lucky that we had Margaret Thatcher as our local MP, as a minister, as Prime Minister, and as a world leader. And if it was luck that took it, we were well off. She recognised the importance of aspiration, and it was her support for people who aspire to better themselves and their families which turned this country around as much as anything. And that was appreciated by the people in Finchley as it was everywhere else. Some people here will remember Graham Greaves, the photographer, who won't know him. He was on television the day she died. He had taken something like 250,000 photographs of Margaret during his time, as he had access to that on constituency visits. And it was almost every home in the constituency that seemed to have pictures of her and her constituents on display. And indeed, I visited a house in Beaconsfield Road last year and was greeted by the family and taken in and shown into their living room. To my horror, there was a picture on the mantelpiece as big as the picture of Her Majesty behind you, of this couple with Margaret Thatcher at a dinner. God sake, I was in the bloody picture as well. Mr. Mayor, I want to focus, in fact, not on the politics and the policies, but actually on her kindness to people in the constituency that she represented. And just to tell a couple of quick stories. An elderly couple who had been amongst what seems to be hundreds of people, judging by the tales, who were present when she was selected to be the parliamentary candidate. When I got to know them, they were an elderly couple called Herbert and Doris, and they lived in Barnet. And not every time, but frequently when she was in the constituency, she would find time to pop in and have a cup of tea with them. And she always wanted to know how their family and their children were getting on. She always had time for the people that she knew. And on 1987, and we've heard about the declaration here of the election result, I'd like to tell you, it was only on the morning of the election day in 1987, I was helping in a committee room in Barnet. And I arrived, and as candidates tend to do then and now, they spend the day touring committee rooms, because frankly it's the best way of keeping them occupied. She arrived in Ramsden Road just as the dust cart was going down the road, and was greeted by the dustmen with great cheers of "Come on, Maggie." They were delighted to see her. She went into the house where the committee room was, and Rosemary was there, dressed in a red dress, and she apologised to Margaret for wearing the red dress. She said it was the only dress that fitted her. She was actually 9 months pregnant and had gone into labour. And I said to Margaret that she couldn't stop and have a cup of tea in this committee room, because as soon as I could get her out and on her way to the next committee room, Rosemary was going off to the hospital to have her baby. And indeed she did. She gave birth that afternoon to a little girl. It won't surprise you to know that her name is Margaret. I got a message to her to say that the baby had been born. It was as much as her security guards could do to stop her from going up to the hospital. Can you imagine the leader of a political party and the Prime Minister, descending on the maternity ward on the day of the general election, unexpected and unannounced. She didn't. But she did send the teddy bear that was sitting in the back of the car throughout the campaign up to Rosemary, along with a bunch of flowers. But it was a few weeks later at the next event in the constituency. She turned up at the church hall, which was packed with people who wanted to greet her. And she arrived and she came in. The first thing she wanted to do was to go and find little Margaret. She made a beeline for her to welcome her into the party. And Margaret has grown up, and in fact, Trevor, I think, is sitting here in the gallery. His daughter actually got engaged, daughter Margaret got engaged on the day that Margaret died, which is just part of the story. Just one of the many stories that those of us who knew her in Finchley and Crown Barnet could tell about her relationship with her constituents. She was a wonderfully kind, caring person, and yes, she did have a sense of humour. Our thoughts at this time are particularly with Mark and Carol and with her grandchildren, and also with her very, very many good friends right the way across the country and in Finchley and Crown Barnet. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Can I invite everybody please to stand and join me in the silence?